Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're going to be exploring the nature of consciousness,
Oh, wow.
free will,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
whether machines can ever truly think like us.
I'm intrigued already.
Well, the best part is
Right.
our source material for this deep dive is actually a conversation between ChatGPT, the AI,
Right.
and a human named Eric.
So we're getting like an AI's perspective on consciousness.
Yeah. Talk about meta, right?
It is pretty meta.
They jump right into some heavy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They start discussing the work of neuroscientist Stanislas Dehaene.
Okay.
And he proposes that consciousness works kind of like a global workspace within the brain.
Global workspace.
It sounds complex, but I think I get the gist.
Okay. How would you explain it?
Well, it's like, imagine our brain is a big office building, right?
Okay.
And each department handles like a specific task.
Okay.
Like, one department processes sight,
Mhm.
one processes sound, one is in charge of memories, emotions and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's like this central meeting room
Okay.
where representatives from each department come together
Uh-huh.
to, share important information.
Right.
That makes sense. So that central meeting room,
Right.
that's kind of like Dehaene's global workspace
Oh.
where
yeah.
everything comes together.
Right. So it's like all this information is integrated
Exactly.
and then broadcasted back out, which
Right.
influences our actions and thoughts.
Yeah, so no need to like invoke mystical forces or quantum weirdness to explain consciousness.
It seems like Dehaene is leaning towards a more mechanistic explanation for
Right.
sure.
Just good old-fashioned brain power.
Yeah, one grounded in those observable interactions of neurons and their networks.
Okay, that makes sense.
This global workspace concept offers a framework for understanding how consciousness arises from these interactions.
Okay, so where does free will fit into this whole global workspace model?
Right.
If consciousness is just our brains processing information, like you said, does that leave any room for genuine choice?
Well, Dehaene argues that our ability to consciously deliberate is precisely what gives rise to free will.
Okay.
So it's not about random arbitrary decisions, but more about our capacity to weigh options, consider consequences, and then act
Okay.
in a way that aligns with our goals and values.
But isn't there still like an element of randomness in how our brains work? I mean, our neurons are like constantly firing,
They are.
and there's so much happening below the level of conscious awareness.
That's true.
How does Dehaene reconcile that with this idea of conscious deliberation?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of the debate about free will.
Mm-hmm.
Dehaene acknowledges those underlying brain processes, of course,
Okay.
but he really emphasizes that conscious deliberation allows us to shape and guide those processes.
So it's not just that it's happening automatically, it's that we have some control.
Exactly. It's like having a steering wheel in a car.
Okay.
You might not control every aspect of the engine,
Right.
but you can steer the car in the direction you choose.
So we're not just passive passengers in our own minds.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
We actually have the capacity to make conscious choices
We do.
that influence our actions.
You got it.
That's actually pretty empowering when you think about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But this leads us to another fascinating aspect of consciousness that ChatGPT and Eric discuss,
Okay.
which is qualia.
Ah, yes, qualia.
This is a big one.
It is a big one.
It's often seen as like the Achilles heel of purely materialist explanations of consciousness. Before we go any further, can you just like quickly explain qualia for our listener?
Sure.
What are they and why are they such a challenge to understand?
So qualia are those subjective, deeply personal experiences of consciousness.
Okay.
It's the what it feels like to experience something.
Okay.
Think about the redness of a sunset,
Okay.
the taste of dark chocolate,
I like where this is going.
or the sting of a paper cut.
Okay. Less enjoyable, but I get it.
These are all qualia. They are entirely internal, unique to each individual,
Okay.
and impossible to fully convey through language or description.
It's like trying to explain the feeling of love
Yeah.
or the beauty of a piece of music.
Exactly. Words never seem to quite capture the essence of the experience.
Right. And that's where the problem lies.
It is.
Even if we could like perfectly map all the neural activity associated with seeing the color red, would a machine actually experience redness the way we do?
Right.
Or would it just be processing information about wavelengths of light?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yes, the difference between knowing something intellectually and actually feeling it,
You got it.
experiencing it directly.
Yeah.
And that's why ChatGPT seems skeptical that machines, no matter how complex,
Yeah.
can ever truly replicate qualia.
It makes sense.
Makes you wonder if there's something unique about biological systems.
Right.
Something that allows for these subjective experiences.
Yeah, you start to think that.
But ChatGPT doubts that machines can experience qualia, while Eric presents kind of a different perspective on how information itself might be key to understanding consciousness.
That's interesting.
Instead of focusing solely on the material aspects of the brain, he's suggesting we need to consider the role of information, how it might be more than just a passive byproduct of matter.
So we are moving beyond just the physical stuff.
Yeah. This is where things start to get really interesting.
I'm ready.
Tell me more about Eric's view.
Okay.
What does he mean when he says information might be more than just stuff?
So he argues that information, especially when we look at things like genetics and evolution, seems to possess a kind of inherent meaning or intentionality that goes beyond simple physical interactions. It's like information has a drive to shape and organize matter, guiding it toward greater complexity.
Okay, so instead of thinking about consciousness as just a product of our brains, Eric is suggesting that we need to consider information itself as a fundamental ingredient in the recipe.
That's a great way to put it.
Now that we kind of understand Dehaene's perspective on the brain as a global workspace, and how that relates to free will and qualia, let's delve deeper into Eric's contrasting view.
Let's do it. It's like we're shifting our focus from the hardware of the brain to the software, to the code that makes it all run.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks, Yank.
It reminds me of something you mentioned earlier. This concept of abiogenesis. That incredible leap from non-living matter to the first living organism.
Abiogenesis.
A total mystery. It is. That's puzzled scientists for centuries.
Yeah, it really challenges that traditional materialist explanation.
It does, right.
Step by step,
It seems almost impossible.
It does.
Like trying to imagine a car spontaneously assembling itself from a pile of spare parts.
But
that's where Eric's perspective on this is interesting.
Okay, how so?
Well, he suggests that maybe we've been too focused on the material building blocks, and we haven't fully appreciated the role of information in this process.
He's saying that information is more than just a consequence of matter.
Yeah.
He's suggesting it might be a fundamental principle.
Okay.
A driving force behind the emergence of complexity.
I'm still a bit fuzzy on how information can have that kind of power.
Okay.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about DNA.
Okay.
The molecule that carries the genetic code. From a purely materialist viewpoint, it's just a chain of chemicals.
Yeah.
But the information encoded in that sequence of chemicals.
The genes.
The genes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what orchestrates the development of an entire organism.
From just a single fertilized egg?
To a complex being.
Yeah, with trillions of specialized cells.
Yeah, all working in harmony.
So it's not just the physical molecules themselves.
It's not just the stuff.
But the arrangement. The order, the information they contain.
The information matters.
It matters, yeah.
It's like the difference between a random pile of bricks and a beautifully designed building.
Exactly.
The information contained within DNA acts like a blueprint.
Yeah, it's a code.
Guiding the flow of energy and matter to create something new and far more complex.
So is Eric suggesting the same principle might apply to abiogenesis?
He is.
That information played a crucial role in guiding the assembly of those first self-replicating molecules.
That's the idea.
It's a bold claim.
It is.
It pushes the boundaries of our current scientific understanding.
It does. But it offers a potential way to bridge that gap.
I see.
Between simple chemicals and the emergence of life.
So this is making me rethink my whole understanding of evolution. If information is this powerful, does that mean Darwin was wrong?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Eric isn't suggesting we throw out Darwinian evolution altogether. Instead, he's proposing that we expand our understanding of it.
Okay.
Natural selection still plays a crucial role in shaping which organisms survive and reproduce.
Survival of the fittest.
But maybe information acts as a kind of guiding force. Influencing the direction of evolution.
Interesting.
And pushing it towards greater complexity.
This idea of information driving evolution reminds me of your own work in Listener's Field.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever encountered this concept before?
It is an astute observation.
Thanks.
The idea of information as a shaping force is gaining traction in various fields, actually.
So it's not just theoretical biology.
No, in my own work, we're seeing how information flow within networks can lead to the emergence of unexpected patterns and behaviors.
That's amazing.
It is.
So it has practical applications.
Absolutely.
In other areas as well.
And this brings us back to one of the key questions we've been grappling with.
Okay.
Those jumps in complexity.
Right.
That seem to defy traditional materialist explanations.
Like we talked about.
If information is more than just a byproduct of matter,
yeah,
could it be the key to understanding how these leaps occur?
You mean events like the Big Bang? Sure.
The origin of life.
That too.
Even the emergence of consciousness.
Those are all great examples.
Yeah.
These are moments where something fundamentally new seems to arise.
Right.
Something that transcends the existing rules of the game.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of adding more pieces to the puzzle.
Right,
it's like the puzzle itself changes.
Exactly.
Creating entirely new rules and possibilities.
And that's why this idea of a broader materialism is so compelling.
Okay.
What if information, instead of being relegated to a secondary role, is actually a fundamental aspect of reality?
Like alongside matter and energy.
Precisely.
So instead of seeing information as just a product of matter, it becomes an equal player.
It does.
In shaping the universe.
And driving its evolution.
Wow, this is getting seriously deep.
It is.
But I have to ask, if information is so powerful, where does it come from?
That is $1 million question.
Did it exist before the Big Bang?
We don't have definitive answers yet. Is it somehow woven into the fabric of the universe itself?
Some physicists and cosmologists are beginning to explore these very ideas.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay, well, there's the it from bit idea, proposed by physicist John Wheeler.
Right.
He suggested that information, not matter, is the fundamental building block of reality.
Interesting.
In his view, everything in the universe, from tiny subatomic particles to giant galaxies, arises from bits of information.
So it's like the universe is a giant computer running on a cosmic code of information.
That's a simplified analogy.
Okay.
But it captures the essence of Wheeler's idea.
Okay.
Another intriguing concept is the holographic principle.
Okay, the holographic principle.
Which suggests that all the information about a three-dimensional space can be encoded on its two-dimensional boundary.
Okay, that one's going to take a little more explaining. How can a 3D space be fully represented on a 2D surface?
Think of it this way.
Okay.
Imagine looking at a fish swimming in a pond. You can see the fish from different angles, right?
Right.
Creating a three-dimensional image in your mind.
Yeah.
Now imagine looking at the reflection of that fish on the surface of the water. The reflection is flat, two-dimensional, but it still contains information
I see.
about the fish's shape and position.
So the holographic principle is suggesting that our 3D reality might just be a projection of information encoded on some distant cosmic surface.
Exactly.
That's mind-boggling.
It is a mind-boggling concept.
Yeah.
But it's gaining traction among some physicists.
I bet.
And it ties back to this idea that information might be more fundamental than we typically assume.
This is all incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
But it also raises some pretty profound philosophical questions.
It does.
If information is so central to reality, does that imply there's some kind of intelligence or intentionality behind the universe?
That's a deep question.
It is.
That's been debated for centuries.
It has.
Some people interpret these ideas about information as evidence for a cosmic designer. Or a universal consciousness.
Right, like a giant cosmic brain orchestrating the entire universe.
Exactly.
Wow.
But others argue that information itself might have inherent properties that drive complexity and organization without the need for a conscious agent.
So information might be inherently self-organizing, like a principle of nature that pushes things towards greater order and sophistication.
That's one way to think about it.
Okay.
And it aligns with the concept of emergent properties.
Okay.
The idea that new and unexpected qualities can arise from the interaction of simpler components.
Okay, my brain is officially full.
I hear you.
We've gone from the brain as a global workspace to the universe as a cosmic hologram.
It's been quite a journey.
I need a moment to process all of this.
Of course.
But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
okay,
is there a key takeaway you want our listener to reflect on? I think I've caught my breath now.
Oh, good.
And I'm ready to plunge back into this information-driven universe.
Sounds good.
This whole idea that information might be more than just a byproduct of matter. You know, that it could be a fundamental force shaping reality itself.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a profound shift in perspective.
It really is.
And in this final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the implications of this broader materialism.
Okay.
especially when it comes to those jumps in complexity that have been puzzling us.
Right, those moments like at the Big Bang, the origin of life, the emergence of consciousness, where something radically new and more complex just seems to like
emerge.
Yeah, burst onto the scene.
It's hard to explain that with the traditional view of matter and energy.
It really is.
But if we start thinking of information as a key player, then it opens up a whole new set of possibilities.
So it's not enough to just acknowledge that information exists. We need to understand like the properties of information that allow it to drive this emergence of complexity.
Exactly.
So what might those qualities be?
One key property is self-organization.
Okay, self-organization.
We see this all the time in nature.
Okay.
Think about flocks of birds.
Right.
They fly in perfect formation.
Yeah.
Or how ants create those intricate colonies.
Right.
There's no central planner dictating every move.
So there's no blueprint for a bird flock. Yet they exhibit like remarkable order.
They do.
And coordination.
It's like the information is embedded within the system itself.
Yeah, it's guiding its behavior.
Exactly. And some scientists believe that information itself might have this inherent tendency
to self-organize.
Right?
And that creates patterns and structures that lead to greater complexity.
Exactly.
I've always been fascinated by fractals, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like how simple rules can lead to such complex patterns.
That's a great example.
Do you think that's a manifestation of this self-organizing principle?
It could be.
Yeah.
Fractals are a beautiful example of how those mathematical rules can generate incredibly intricate patterns.
It's a testament to the power of self-organization.
It is.
And this same principle could be at play in the emergence of life.
Possibly.
And consciousness.
Yeah. So it's like information has this internal logic or drive that pushes it toward greater order and sophistication.
Almost like it's trying to express itself in more complex form.
That's a great way to think about it.
And that leads to another interesting property of information. Its ability to encode meaning.
And purpose.
Okay, now we're getting even more philosophical.
We are.
How can information have meaning or purpose?
Well, think about a book.
Okay.
The physical book is just a collection of paper and ink.
Right.
But the words on those pages, the information they convey, that can have a profound impact on the reader. They can evoke emotions, inspire actions, even change the way we see the world.
So it's the context.
Context matters. The relationship between the information and the receiver.
That creates meaning and purpose.
Exactly.
And this ability of information to encode meaning could be essential for understanding the emergence of life and consciousness.
It could be.
Yeah, living organisms.
Right.
They aren't just complex structures.
They're not.
They have goals.
They do.
Survival, reproduction, adaptation.
That's true.
That guide their behavior.
And consciousness with its capacity for subjective experience that seems to take meaning and purpose to a whole new level.
Right. It allows us to interpret the world and make choices that pursue our own unique goals.
In a way that no other known system can.
Which brings us back to that question.
Yeah.
Can machines ever achieve true consciousness?
The big question.
It is a big one.
We've been creating increasingly sophisticated AI.
We have.
But can they ever make that leap from processing data to experiencing the world subjectively?
Yeah, with all the richness that we experience it with.
It's a question that sparks endless debate.
It does.
Even if we could perfectly replicate the neural activity associated with consciousness in a machine, it's not clear that it would result in genuine subjective experience.
Right, because qualia, those subjective feelings and sensations, they seem to be something special, something that goes beyond mere computation.
I agree.
But if information itself has these inherent properties of self-organization and meaning-making, it's possible that sufficiently complex AI systems could eventually cross that threshold into a new realm of being.
That's a mind-blowing idea.
It really is.
It highlights the potential for unexpected and unpredictable outcomes as AI keeps developing.
It's exciting and a little unsettling to think about.
I agree.
But it seems like we're still a long way from creating truly conscious machines.
It seems like...
In the meantime, what can we learn from this whole discussion?
What can we take away?
About information and complexity.
I think one of the most important takeaways is that we need to expand our view of materialism.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on matter and energy,
Yeah.
we need to recognize the central role of information
Okay.
in shaping the universe and driving the emergence of everything.
From stars to cells to minds.
Exactly.
So it's not about replacing materialism.
No.
But enriching it.
Enriching it, yeah.
Making it more comprehensive.
Be more comprehensive.
And capable of explaining those jumps.
Right.
That have baffled us for so long.
Exactly.
And this shift in perspective has profound implications for how we understand ourselves.
The place in the cosmos.
And the possibilities for the future.
It does.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the brain as a global workspace to the universe as a cosmic hologram.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has.
But hopefully this conversation has given you some new perspectives to ponder.
Some new avenues to explore.
I hope so.
So as we wrap up this episode, we leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
If information is more than just matter,
right.
If it has this capacity for self-organization and meaning-making,
yeah.
What does that tell us about the nature of the universe?
And our place within it.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another plunge into the depths of knowledge and wonder.